What's good, fight fans? This is your boy DJC Combat, and Merry Christmas to you all. For today's video, I'm going to give you my 13 major predictions for MMA in 2024. New Year's Day, I dropped a video like this, but for predictions for 2023. But now we move on to next year. So I'm going to start with my first prediction. So my number one prediction, I think Michael Venom Page is going to win his UFC debut at UFC 299. I do favor him to beat Kevin Holland. Very similar fashion to how Stephen Wonderboy Thompson did. And then speaking of Wonderboy, I think after they're going to book him, they're going to book Michael Venom Page versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson later on in the year. I could see them making that fight in the UK. That's going to be a huge fight. The fans are going to be excited for it. And I think the UFC, they're going to make that matchup because they'll see Wonderboy as like a favorable matchup. He's not a wrestler, two strikers, and they're really going to try to fast track MVP in the top 7, top 5 of the welterweight division to get him closer to a title shot. I don't know if he gets past Wonderboy, but all I know it's going to be a good fight, and I do think that it is going to happen. I do think MVP is going to have a good start to his UFC career. And for my second prediction, I think 6 UFC champions in 2024 will lose their belts. I think 2024 is going to be the year of the fallen champs, like 2019, also like 2022 and 2016. There's always that one year that comes around where we see a bunch of title changes. I think it's going to be like this in 2024. And the champions that I do see dropping their titles, I think Sean Strickland's going to lose the belt. I don't know if it's going to be to Dricus, but even if he beats Duplessis, I don't see him getting more than one defense. And I think following the next pay-per-view, I do think Volkanovski just may lose to Topuria. But who knows? I could be off about that one, but I just feel like there's going to be a new featherweight champion in 2024. And I also think Sean O'Malley is going to lose the belt. I think he gets through Cheeto, but I think he'll probably lose to like a Sandhagen or a Marab or something like that. Zhang Weili is definitely going to lose the belt. I think Tatiana Suarez, I think that's going to be the fight in the women's strawweight division. Suarez is going to dethrone her. Alex Pereira is going to lose the belt at 205 as well. It's going to be a repeat of when he won the middleweight title and couldn't defend it. I don't see him defending the belt at light heavyweight. I mean, maybe he can get one defense, maybe over Jamal, but then if he has to see Ankalaev, I think he's going to lose that. I don't see him closing out the year as champ, and I think Leon Edwards, I think this year he's going to drop the title, and it's going to be to Shavkat Rakhmonov. I could say Alexa Grasso would be one of the people this year to lose the belt, which is very possible. She's not entirely safe either because Erin's a hard fight. Valentina came close to beating her the first couple times they fought. Still a threat in the trilogy, but I'm too biased to list her. And then John Jones, I can make that 7, but I think John's going to go out on his own terms. I don't see anyone beating him for the belt. But speaking of Alexa Grasso, I think Grasso versus Weili happens. I think Zhang Weili is going to move up, and she's going to attempt double champ status. I do think the UFC, they're going to put together that matchup. The UFC, Dana White, they love Weili Zhang. She's a superstar, and hey, she can call the shot. She's already kind of cemented her legacy at 115. So I think right now is a good opportunity for her to move up, and I think her and Alexa, they're probably going to be on UFC 300, and that's going to be a banging ass fight. Good fight. Maybe even one of the best fights of the year. One of the best fights in WMA history. I do see it being a 5-round war. Close fight, but I think Alexa will win a decision, probably split decision against Zhang Weili. But Weili could definitely make history and become double champ. I could see that because she is the type of woman to do that. She is an all-time great. But I don't think she gets through Alexa. And then I do think that is also going to kind of create somewhat of a logjam in both divisions because I think that's going to force Yan Xiaonan to have to fight again before fighting for the belt. And I think after Tatiana beats Amanda, they're going to make Suarez versus Xiaonan. Suarez is going to win that and then earn the fight with Weili. And I do see Wei Li losing twice this year. I think she's going to move up, lose to Alexa, and then lose the belt after to Tatiana. But you never know. I could be dead wrong. Maybe she does go out there and does beat Alexa for the belt. We're just going to have to find out. And then I have another Alexa Grasso prediction. I think this is going to be a good year for Alexa Grasso. I know a lot of people right now kind of see her as that champion who won't last, is not meant to last, maybe should have lost her last title defense. But I think as an underdog with the odds stacked against her, I think she's going to prove a lot of people wrong. I think she's going to defend the belt first against Zhang. And then I think they're going to make the Valentina Shevchenko trilogy later on in the year, in the fall. And honestly, I think she's going to beat Valentina again. I can just see it so clearly. Valentina's older, already had her time. Alexa's going to be the more improved fighter by the time they fight. It'll have been like a year since Valentina will have last fought. And I think that this is going to be the passing of the torch. And I think Alexa Grasso this year is going to cement herself as the true champion of the flyweight division. And fans are finally going to put some respect on her name. And I think she will be seen as the true apex predator at women's flyweight. I could be wrong. Who knows? But that's what I do see happening. And then number 5, Jon Jones and Stipe gets rescheduled, and it's going to be a double retirement. I think Jon Jones wins that fight pretty comfortably in a decision, I believe. And I think both are going to retire. I think Jon will retire now that he's made his legacy off beating Stipe, the greatest heavyweight of all time. And Stipe will retire coming off 2 straight losses, coming off a 3.5-year layoff, getting slept by Ngannou, coming back after 3 years to lose to Jon. By that point, I think he'll know that he's done. So yeah, that's my pick. I don't think Jon's going to stick around and fight Tom Aspinall, although I hope so. And then for my sixth prediction, I think Israel Adesanya will return. He just recently announced his return. He will be back. And I do think it's going to be at middleweight, and it's going to be against the winner of Duplessis versus Sean Strickland. I mean, I know Izzy's coming off a loss, but he's one of the greatest middleweights of all time, and he's earned a rematch with Sean, but he didn't want to get it. But now that he's taken some time off, I think he has that privilege as a superstar, as an all-time great, to walk into another shot at the belt. And if Dricus wins, the UFC is definitely going to make it. That's a big fight that was already meant to happen. So I think the UFC will definitely try to remake that fight. Dricus is going to want it. Izzy's going to want it. And if Strickland wins, I think Strickland will definitely give Izzy a second chance. And Izzy will definitely want to get that one back. But that's what I do see happening. And then for my 7th prediction, Tony Ferguson doesn't retire because he's too damn stubborn, but what will happen is he will be kind of forced to retire. I think the UFC will release Tony Ferguson, and I don't think any other promotion is going to want Tony, and then because of that, I do think Tony will never fight again. He might get given one more fight, maybe, but he's going to lose, or they might just release him right now. I really hope they release him right now, but that's what I do think is going to happen, because there's no point of keeping Tony around. He's just fodder for any of these guys to fight, and he just can't win, doesn't have it anymore. So yeah, Tony Ferguson gets cut. For my 8th prediction, I think Colby Covington will sit out for the entirety of 2024. He's not going to fight at all in that year, and I do think he's going to be removed from the rankings just because Colby is already so inactive and so entitled, and he'll only take fights that he deems as like a big fight, a money fight. He's a prize fighter. He's kind of like in that situation where Dustin is, where they'll only take fights that are big or for a title. And if it's not a title shot, or if it's not another superstar or a guy who holds a win over him, then it don't make sense. He wants Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's 40 and coming off a loss. That's Colby's preference, but I don't think the UFC is going to do Colby any favors, and I do not believe they're going to give him Wonderboy. They're going to offer him a harder fight against a harder style matchup. He'll decline, and he'll be removed from the rankings. And he'll just be kind of like a Nate Diaz fighter who just fights maybe once every 2 years when the right fight comes along. That's what I see happening. And for prediction number 9, I think Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler finally happens. I hope UFC 300, but probably not because the UFC is dumb like that. They'll probably fight International Fight Week, but the fight's gonna happen, bro. Michael Chandler did not wait 2 years for nothing. Conor is bound to return. He's the biggest superstar in all of MMA in UFC history. So the fight happens. I don't have a prediction for the fight, but I do think it will go down, finally. And I think for prediction number 10, it's going to break a lot of fans' hearts, but I do think Justin Gaethje is going to retire. I think his next fight's going to be his last because he's going to lose. And he's already stated that if he cannot become the undisputed champion, then what's the point? And he always craps the bed every time he fights for the undisputed title. Seems like it's not in the cards for him. He's going to fight Makhachev, and there's no way he beats Islam Makhachev. He'll get submitted in that fight inside 2 rounds, and he'll, unwrap the gloves and say it was a good career. Thank you, everyone. Thanks all the fans for your support, but I'm out. Peace. I can just visualize that so perfectly, but who knows? Maybe Justin Gaethje could pull the upset against Islam. It's not impossible. But yeah, I just don't see it, and he's going to hang him up. And for my 11th prediction, I think Arman Tsarukyan will become the number 1 contender at lightweight. I do not think he gets a title shot this year, simply because Islam, when he fights, he'll always fight the beginning of the year, then end of the year in Abu Dhabi. And I see Islam fighting only 2 opponents, either Charles Oliveira next, and then Justin Gaethje after. Or if it's Gaethje, then I think the UFC will make Arman versus Charles Oliveira, and I unfortunately see Oliveira losing that, and then Tsarukyan becoming the number 1 contender. Or if Oliveira's next, I actually don't know who Arman's going to beat, or I don't know who he's going to fight to become the number 1 contender, but I do see him in like a title eliminator type of fight that's going to earn him a title shot, and I think by the end of 2024, he'll have earned a shot at the belt, and then 2025, he'll fight for the title. And hopefully it will be a Makhachev rematch. And then for my 12th prediction, I think Nate Diaz is going to return to the UFC. It's not going to be the Conor trilogy. That fight's never going to happen, unfortunately. But I think his return opponent is going to be the Diamond Dustin Poirier. I think Dustin is going to take a lot of time off after the loss to Gaethje. But right now, he's just waiting around for the right fight, and I think the UFC will reschedule the Nate Diaz fight after 6 years. I hope they put it on UFC 300, but probably maybe sometime in the summer of 2024. And then for my 13th and final prediction, this is another sad one. I think 2024 will be the end of Triple C. I think he may have just ruined his legacy right here by coming out of retirement, losing to Aljamain Sterling, and then taking on Merab. And then he's going to lose to Merab, I think. Merab is going to beat an older, weathered Henry Cejudo. And I think Henry, off 2 losses, is going to take off the gloves, lay them down in the octagon, and not retire on top like he did in 2020, unfortunately. Hope I'm wrong, though. But these are all of my predictions for 2024. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me hear your predictions. Like and subscribe, and peace out.